Hi everyone, welcome back to my awesome how-to channel. Today I would like to show you how I make my easy meatloaf dinner. I have a family of 6 and you know they're hungry, so let's get to it. I have 2 eggs in my bowl already. I have chopped up a whole bell pepper, red bell pepper, and then half an onion. I usually use yellow onions, but I only had the purple this time. So I'm going to put all that in the bowl. And while I was preparing this, I turned my oven on to 375 so that I can preheat before I get it into the pan. Next, I have about 3 to 4 cups of celery. I chopped them a little thinner. I like them a little bit thicker to add that little bit of crunch to it. I even chopped in the leaves too. That you don't have to keep the leaves in there, but it adds a little bit of celery flavor to it. Okay. Next, I have 2 cups of milk, as I try not to spill it. Go ahead and pour that into our mixture. Like I said, this goes super quick once you have all the ingredients prepared. And it really makes it easy when you have little ones in the house. After that, I will use about a teaspoon of seasoned salt. And you can, everybody's meatloaf can vary on what you want to put for the seasoning. I put about a teaspoon of that. And then I'll have garlic. And I will add about a teaspoon of garlic, and we love garlic. Add about a teaspoon of that. And just like basil, I mostly go off of smell and taste. So a lot of times I'll even mix that up every time I make it. I'll make it with basil, and then I'll make it with oregano, and then I'll make it with Italian. So just to change the flavor a little bit. So it really just depends on what your heart feels for the day. And I'll add about a teaspoon of pepper. So that's about a teaspoon each for all the seasoning. Okay. Now I have 3 pounds of just ground hamburger. I'm just going to add this whole thing in there. This is one of our family favorites. It is so easy to make and so quick to put together. Now, don't judge me in the comments. I am going to use my hands. If I was preparing it for somebody else, but this is for my family, I'm going to use my hands. You can mix it with a little spatula, but hey, why not get right in there? So you're really looking to just break up the meat here and really just combine all of your ingredients together. Can you see all that? I'd say really this is probably the most time-consuming part. Also during my prep time, you can either butter or spray your pan. I mean, you don't need too much because you will have the grease of the meat as well. But I like to put a little bit of butter on the pan just to prevent it from sticking. Okay, now that all of the ingredients are combined, you want it to be to where you don't see any more of the milk, and that way you can really tell that it's all mixed up into pretty much one big meatball. And then I know a lot of people like breadcrumbs, so you can use breadcrumbs. I have fresh homemade bread, so the slices will kind of vary. If it's store-bought, I was using about like 6 slices for my meatloaf, but this is my homemade bread and it comes out really tall, like, so it's a lot bigger of a loaf of bread. It's a 2-pound loaf of bread. So then I just tear these up into smaller chunks. So really this whole dish is made from scratch and fresh veggies. I feel like the pieces of bread actually absorb a little bit of the moisture and really hold in a lot of the flavor from the meat, and it turns out really good. It keeps the meatloaf nice and moist. I like to try and do it in this order too, so that I'm not touching the meat beforehand. The more you have prepped and prepared for yourself, the less you'll kind of have to hand wash in between. You kind of make it like the last step, like how I did. Put everything in a bowl. It's all going to be mixed together. I always like for one of the pieces of bread that I add in to be an end piece, so that way it also does kind of retain some of its structure, so to speak. Almost done. I put this in last so that the milk doesn't absorb into this, that it kind of more or less gets mixed into the meat. So they're getting soggy. So that is a crucial step. Now that we have that kind of folded in, because you don't really want to keep mixing it for very long, you don't want it to turn soggy. I go ahead and I take a handful and I put it in my bread pan. And I split it in half for my bread pans. And really, this meatloaf never lasts in my house. When I make it, there's barely a serving left when I make this. So this really is a go-to for my family, and something that is so easy to make and so easy to put together. And you have really less time in the kitchen and more time with the family. When I put this in the oven, I set the timer to about 30 minutes and I check on it just to see how it is. I base it off of the juice that is in there. If you first open it and there's a lot of juice and it's not really brown yet on the top, you want to kind of see that it's kind of cooked around the edges, and a lot of the juice is already reabsorbed back into the meatloaf itself. And you'll kind of see that when you go to cook it. You'll kind of adjust your time to how dark you like it on top and how well cooked you like your meat. So that is it. Like I said, it's very quick when you start putting it all together. The most time, I guess, would be chopping up your veggies, whatever vegetables that you want. It varies from your allergies or person to person. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.